Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you with us today because we are jumping straight into a seriously profound reflection originally crafted for the fifth Sunday of Easter. It's a text that dives deep, and I mean really deep, into the intersection of faith, anxiety, and finding our spiritual direction, especially when everything around us feels entirely uncertain. We're going to unpack these ancient insights together and see exactly how they chart a course right through the turbulence of the human mind. So here's a question that hits incredibly close to home, right? How do we actually cure a troubled heart? It's definitely not just a modern problem. Even the most devoted, the closest followers of Jesus, the people who literally walked alongside him, struggled with intense, paralyzing fear and anxiety. We tend to think of these historical figures as totally unshakable, but the reality is very different and honestly so relatable.
All right, Section 1, The Disciples' Dilemma. Let's look at how scattered and troubled they really were.
Talk about emotional whiplash. Just think about the roller coaster they were on. First, during the years of Jesus' physical ministry, they experienced this magnifying happiness and great hope. They were riding high. But then, abrupt devastation. The crucifixion brought sheer terror. They were under severe threat from Roman soldiers, forced into hiding, basically moving quietly out of pure anxiety. And then comes phase 3, those post-resurrection days. While they did regain inner strength and began to preach again, a deep, lingering trouble still remained in their minds. And here is a really crucial observation from the source text. Despite experiencing the literal miracle of the resurrection, the ultimate victory, human anxiety is just incredibly stubborn. The disciples were still scattered. They were actively struggling to process the facts of what had just happened. It just goes to show that having a massive, grand revelation doesn't automatically erase the immediate, messy, human emotion of being troubled. Which brings us to Section 2, Curing a Troubled Heart, and looking at Jesus' specific remedy. The entire remedy basically hinges on this single, powerful directive from the Gospel of John, chapter 14, verse 1. Let not your heart be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. Jesus absolutely knows their hearts are anxious about a million different things, but notice how directly he addresses their inner turmoil. He doesn't dismiss their feelings or tell them to get over it. Rather, he speaks right to the very core of their fear to inject them with courage. Now, why is the author's warning here so stark? Well, it's because when our hearts are troubled, they become weak. And here's the kicker. When the heart is weak, human willpower alone is completely useless. We'll end up falling again and again. Our willpower totally loses its potency, and we'll face a complete inability to resist evil intentions. Trying to just white-knuckle your way through spiritual or moral challenges with sheer human willpower, it's a losing battle if the heart isn't secure first.
So, to actually fortify the heart, the text lays out a super clear progression you have to follow before trying to protect anything else. Step 1 is to believe in the Father and the Son, establishing that deep foundational faith. Step 2, purify the mind and heart, getting rid of all that internal clutter. And step 3, dedicate yourself to prayer and penance. The author makes it clear that if the heart is fortified in this specific, ordered way, no evil power can shake you down or trouble you.
In this fortified heart, it has an ultimate destination. It's what Jesus calls the Father's house. The text identifies this house of prayer as the church, and it is meant for absolutely everyone who believes. And the really beautiful comfort highlighted here is that believers don't have to build this house themselves. Jesus himself is the one who goes ahead to prepare everything for those who follow him.
Moving right along to Section 3, Finding the Right Way, because Jesus himself is the path.
Right in the middle of all this profound teaching, the disciple Thomas just interrupts. He flat out says, "We don't know the way." And honestly, Thomas is kind of perfectly voicing our own modern-day confusion right there, isn't he? We hear about the Father's house, we hear all about the destination, but practically speaking, we get totally lost trying to figure out the exact turn-by-turn directions to actually get there.
It sets up this amazing juxtaposition between our way and Jesus's way. Because let's face it, as humans, we love to overcomplicate things. We constantly look for different, convoluted ways to reach Jesus. We invent our own paths, and we often load ourselves down with these heavy penances and sacrifices of our own making. But Jesus' response cuts right through all that complicated noise with an absolute simple truth. He says that he himself is the way, the truth, and the life. The path isn't a map. The path is a person.
So how do we actually practically walk that path every single day? Well, it breaks down into actionable principles. To truly see the Father, we have to align our daily actions. We must actively choose the right way, we must commit to doing truthful things, and we have to lead a life that continually endures in the Spirit of Christ. It's not a one-time choice. It's a continuous, active alignment of our daily actions with His truth.
All right, let's head into section 4. Like Father, like Son, exploring this idea of an identical nature.
You know the old saying, right? As the Father, so the Son. The author points this out to demonstrate that in just our ordinary, everyday way of life, looking at the Son is entirely enough to know about the Father, and vice versa. It's a perfect mirror reflection.
In theology, this concept is called identical nature. It's essentially a bond of ultimate, unbreakable loyalty. A faithful father will never fail the son, and in return, the faithful son will never fail the Father. This deep, profound loyalty is exactly why Jesus states earlier that He and the Father are one. Their nature is identical in its perfect faithfulness.
And here is where the author lays down a pretty direct and honestly heavy challenge for us on an earthly level. Every parent must reflect on their own children. If a child is good and faithful, it proves they were shown a good path to walk by their parents. Conversely, if they're on the wrong path, it reflects the path they were shown. It frames a child's moral trajectory as a direct reflection of the guidance provided at home. It's a huge but absolutely vital responsibility.
Bringing this all together, the ultimate call to action in this gospel message is crystal clear. Do not allow your heart to be troubled or tempted, but instead actively cling to Jesus' power and authority. By doing so, you are empowered to boldly chase away the power of Satan from within and rely entirely on the strength of the risen Christ to keep moving spiritually forward.
Which brings us right back around to the ultimate question laid out by today's journey. What path are you choosing to walk today? Are you overcomplicating things, relying purely on your own willpower? Or are you actively fortifying your heart and reflecting the faithful path we've just uncovered together? I want to leave you with that provocative thought to really chew on as you go about your day. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep seeking the right path.